Madam President, I want to take a moment to reflect on a rather infamous letter that was sent 11 years ago by the junior senator from Arkansas to the leaders in Iran. The letter was signed by 46 of his fellow Republican senators. What did it say? It incredibly warned Iranian leaders about entering into any nuclear agreement with the Obama administration without the approval of Congress. Let me read an excerpt in which the signers of this letter said, quote, "They will consider any agreement regarding your nuclear weapons program that is not approved by Congress as nothing more than an executive agreement between President Obama and Ayatollah Khomeini." Understand what was happening here. We had a coalition of countries from around the world, many of them competitive, not many of them friendly, but they all came together saying stopping Iran from developing a nuclear weapon is the right thing to do. They negotiated for 2 years on an agreement known as JCPOA, and the object, among other things, was to have careful inspection and monitoring of nuclear activity in Iran, and then have an enforceable agreement to stop them from ever developing a nuclear weapon. This letter was sent by Republican members of the Senate 11 years ago to the Ayatollah in the midst of the negotiations, telling him not to take it seriously dealing with the White House because the agreement had to be approved by Congress. The letter sent by the senator from Arkansas went on to say, the next president could revoke such an executive agreement with the stroke of a pen, and future Congresses could modify the terms of the agreement at any time. What the senator from Arkansas was basically saying to the Ayatollah was, don't waste your time negotiating with this president because we can decide at a later time to reverse whatever he decided on. 47 Republican senators sent this unprecedented letter in the midst of the negotiation with Iran to Iranian leaders during this sensitive period. More than 24 of those senators are still here today. Presumably, they are drafting the same letter now to remind the Iranian leadership about the risks of doing any such deal with President Trump as well. 2 months after this letter was sent, Congress overwhelmingly passed the Nuclear Agreement Review Act with broad bipartisan support. I believe there was only one dissenting vote in the United States Senate. This law, which we passed 11 years ago, requires any nuclear agreement with Iran to be sent to Congress within 5 days for review and a potential privileged vote of approval or disapproval within 30 days. This law is very much applicable today. That is exactly what happened with the deal signed between Iran and the P5+1 nations during the Obama administration, known as JCPOA. I remember the debate in the Senate very clearly at the time. Republicans, opponents of the Obama deal in Congress, said it was weak, that it awarded Iran with sanctions relief, that it empowered the Revolutionary Guard, and it weakened American security. In reality, the JCPOA includes some of the most intrusive inspections ever agreed upon. I hosted the IAEA Director General a number of times after the agreement was implemented, and he said repeatedly, Iran was in compliance with the treaty, which meant he said that if he pointed to a door and said, I want to know what's behind that door, they opened it, period, end of quote. Ultimately, the JCPOA severely restricted Iran's enrichment capabilities at lower levels, notably extending any nuclear weapons breakout time. That is, until President Trump tore it up during his first term as president, leading to Iran's significant expansion of its uranium enrichment capabilities. Now, after 4 months of hostilities, after an invasion or attack, let's say, on Iran by the United States, without support of any allies beyond Israel, we've reached a point where we spent billions of dollars. 13 American service members have given their lives, and the global economy held hostage. What do we have to show for it? A negotiation. I hope it ends well. I hope it ends as well as JCPOA under President Obama. I hope that then the Congress, which was warned by Republican senators years ago to the Iranians, does its job in ratification if it is deserving of that. I'm also curious, though, what did we actually achieve at this point? Remember when he first started this war alongside Israel back in February? The president gave several different rationales. Destroying Iran's military capabilities was one of his goals. Ending its nuclear ambitions was another. Regime change, even liberating the Iranian people. On each of these issues, we have seen little or no progress. Instead, President Trump seems to have signed an ambiguous deal with terms far more favorable to Iran and more vague than Obama's JCPOA. Iran is emerging from Trump's ill-conceived war with an ever more emboldened group of belligerents in charge, with the Iranian people continuing to suffer. These regime hardliners suddenly have a new way to blackmail the United States. When we attacked Iran weeks ago, there was no question about access to the Straits of Hormuz. Now we know it is an issue that is going to be with us for a long, long time. How do we know it? Gasoline prices. American families know exactly what's happened in a short period of time after President Trump's attack on Iran. The cost of gasoline has gone up dramatically, diesel as well. So they can bomb American and allied targets in the region and continue to cause mayhem in the Straits of Hormuz with their proxies. The Iranians are in a stronger position today than when we attacked initially. They even seem to have blackmailed their way into a $300 billion reconstruction fund, a commitment from unspecified sources. Who's putting this money on the table? When the JCPOA under Obama was being negotiated, that was one of the points made over and over again. Don't give Iran back money that we have held up in American and foreign banks. They'll only use it for weapons and use it against us. We heard it over and over again. Obama was selling out. Now, when you look at this memorandum of understanding, and I read it, it says there's going to be some commitment of $300 billion for a reconstruction fund. Who's going to pay it? The memorandum of understanding is silent. So, Madam President, where are the howls of dismay and indignation from the senator from Arkansas and others? After all, President Trump petulantly walked away from a deal that by all accounts was measurably constraining Iran's nuclear program with rigorous inspections. President Trump closed down that agreement in his first term as president. And what is President Trump's replacement? A promise of something unfortunately weaker. As I've said time and time again, it's a lot easier to start a war than it is to end one. We should not be risking any further American lives and taxpayers' dollars on this unnecessary, unconstitutional war. But let me be clear, as the junior senator from Arkansas and his 46 colleagues were 11 years ago, the terms of any nuclear agreement with Iran must come to Congress for review as required by the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. The requirements under this law are not waivable or open to interpretation, no matter who the president may be. Until then, the president may not move forward with any sanctions, related relief, or final implementation of any agreement. I look forward to working with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to hold President Trump to the same standard they held President Obama to 11 years ago. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the letter I referred to from the senator from Arkansas be entered into the record.
Without objection.
I yield the floor.